when you first were around Americans, your counterparts, what was your impression of them in the field for our audience so they can kind of get an understanding of how that perspective is from someone who's not part of the US military, but also a tier one asset?
Yeah. So, well, let me start like I'll go kind of like regular army up. Um, in Canada, we're fortunate for two things. We're a smaller military, which means more money for training per guy or gal, um, which is actually a fact. And I know that I might get some eye rolls saying that, but that is actually a fact. And we get paid better, and that is actually a fact. And those two things change the dynamic, but I'd say it's counterbalanced by like, you were saying about how inspired by the military the US can be. Obviously there's people who aren't, but how intertwined it is. I think that's counterbalanced with that. We don't have that, so we don't, whatever that thing we're measuring out doesn't measure up. As far as with the as you move up, those lines get much more blurred. Like I said, I was kind of kidding when I said about the accents, but if you took one and plucked them and put them in the, I mean, we do cross training all the time, like, so it's hard to see the difference there. There is, if I was to just try to like find some just to have some, I would say there's a little bit more religion thrown into the US side. Not everybody, of course, but there is definitely more, which has its own byproducts and its own points of views, right? Because it's a philosophy that people follow. And again, I'm not saying good or bad on it. I would say that that's there. Um, the U the US. So one thing that I didn't mention earlier on is we were originally started out of a RCMP, which is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, which is similar to your FBI
Okay.
for kind of like a federal police force. And they were the CERT team, which was the counter. Oh, what was it? Give me 1 second. Counterterror. It was like the emergency response team for them for national security, for counterterrorism, and that kind of stuff. And when they handed that over to the military, there was some things that came from their, we'll call it their DNA. Being a police force that still exist in ours, and it's just little cultural differences, but they're there. I won't go down the rabbit hole of what they are, but it's interesting to see how that happens.